Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Couples Connect. We got another good one for you. A couple of really good friends of ours. These are OGs. We done been through music battles and conferences and everything under the sun. We're talking about something really, really, really good today. I want to introduce our guest couples, Jess and Kev, aka I Still Do, aka
Jesus
book writers,
therapy.
aka let me get my own business real quick and do this thing.
Serialpreneurs.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys. Thank you. We're going to do everything we can do while we're alive.
That's right.
I know that's right.
Listen, that's the way to do it. And we are definitely, we look up to you guys. So we definitely following y'all. Y'all are great inspirations. Let me just tell you that for real.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, we love chatting with you guys. Every time we have a conversation, it's so insightful and fun. But we want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to anybody who may be checking you guys out for the first time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm Kevin. We've been married now for 16 years next month. We have 4 wonderful children. And we just love life and what life has to offer. I am a mortgage banker by trade, but what we were able to accomplish together as a couple and what we saw other couples going through, we realized that we had something to share. So we started doing more things on our own to really encourage other people that you can be an entrepreneur and still be a husband and a wife and still be a father and a mother. It may take some time, but you can, really do other things to help other people. And so that's really where our hearts are. We're really servers at heart. We really like to encourage other people, specifically couples, especially now, so many couples need it. And we knew what we needed. And we really didn't have that for what we were going through. And we realized that this was a need that society as a whole has. And so we're just happy to be a part of it and really excited to be talking to you guys. So I'm looking forward to today.
And I'm Jess, and I was trying to decide whether I should stop short Jessica. But everybody calls me Jess. I am a therapist by trade and one of the psychotherapists. I don't do physical therapy, psychotherapy. And I really enjoy working with couples. I think that one of the things that we do good together, our strengths are, highlighted when we work with other couples. And so I'm just glad to be here on your platform. And I love what you guys are doing with Couples Connect.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about us. And we're Kevin Jess on Instagram, Kevin Jess. So we just decided to just take all the titles out, all the names, and it's just Kevin Jess. It's just so simple.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, it's easier to say.
Tish and Key.
Tish and Key. Key and Tish.
Key and Tish.
Key and T. We spilling all the tea. We spilling all the tea. But no, I love it. I love it. And it's kind of similar for us. Like when we started out with Couples Connect, it was more so like for us to kind of get reconnected with each other first. You know what I mean? Because we wanted to make sure that that was good. And that kind of blossomed into this other platform for other couples to kind of come in. So yeah, I think that's just a cool, resemblance to you guys' story. But yeah,
we're excited to pick your brains
to dive right in, guys. Listen, no holds barred.
We are talking about the topic communication, specifically within couples and in relationships and in marriages. And we know that you guys are experts in this area, or talk about it, share about it, and give advice about it. And so we are really, really curious, what are the benefits of like good communication in a relationship?
Yeah.
That was his question.
That's good. That's a good question. That's really good.
I think the benefits of being able to communicate well. Really, I don't know if there's a number to that. I think if you was to put a diagram right together, I think communication would be right in the center, and then everything would stem off of that. Intimacy, finances, emotional and spiritual well-being, right? I think the more that you learn how to communicate with each other and you learn each other's communication styles, right? I think that it can start to affect how each other deals with certain topics, certain situations. It can reduce stress in the relationship, right? That was something that we had to learn. We had to learn each other's communication styles. So sometimes people just throw out there, oh, you gotta communicate, you gotta communicate. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean to communicate? You can do a lot of talking and not be communicating, right? So we had to learn, like I'm more, I'm able to articulate myself from the beginning. I don't have to really think about it. I can just go. Jessica is more analytical in that sense, where she will like to sit back, kind of process what's going on, put her thoughts together, and then she'll come and cut you up, right? She knows how to do that, where, you know, I don't have to write it down. And so we had to learn that about each other. We had to learn when to communicate certain things, right? How do you communicate certain things? We learn not to attack each other. We attack the situation, right? We use a lot of I feel statements versus you always or you never, right? So it's huge because, again, it affects the benefits is really, I guess you can sum it up with a healthy relationship, right? Stems from healthy communication.
And I'll go even as far to say that communication can determine whether or not a couple lasts. How effective that communication is, because poor communication will have a couple not even on the same page, and then they'll start thinking divorce. Like, yo, can we even do this? Like, what you know? And those conversations can get scary because you're tired and you don't know how to communicate. And so it's kind of like, I didn't sign up for this. But it's really just a communication barrier that needs to be identified. And once that's uncovered, then you'll determine together that, okay, this might be something that we need to communicate about more often, but I would go as far to say, and I know that's a bold statement, like communication could determine whether or not a couple stays married, but I think, or together, but I think that that's how powerful communication is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so good. And let me just say that within that span of time that you guys just spoke, you probably answered like 3 or 4 questions that we had, which is good, which is really, really good, because you covered so much and kind of made it, you know, really like simple to comprehend for people.
Oh, we're gonna go deeper.
Yeah. No, that was a good, like, you know, just overview of it. It's like, oh, wow, you know, but my question about, as far as, you know, your spouse having a different communication style as you, how do you figure out, like, what is your own communication style? You know, rather than, you know, in addition to trying to figure out your spouse's, how do you figure out, like, how do I communicate?
That's a good question. And I'll actually just come straight from a textbook on that one. I think that, and this is something that we actually have to teach on this today. There are like 3 major, you know, when you look up communication styles, there could be there's so much people can dig into, but like when you look at the broad picture of what communication looks like, there's assertive, aggressive, and passive, like, to make it just simple, right? And so if you have someone who's aggressive, communicating in an aggressive way, and the person on the other end is passive, you're gonna have all kinds of issues, right? But when you both are assertive, then there's another level to that. And so just to break it down real quick, assertive is just like saying what you feel, not beating around the bush. You're not playing games. You're just saying what you need to say, but you're saying it in a respectful way in which your partner can receive it. You're not saying you always do this. You're saying, you know, I feel real lonely every time you all leave me downstairs on the couch and don't bring me upstairs. I feel forgotten when you guys leave me on the couch and everybody just goes to bed and I'm thinking it, right? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even realize. I just thought you was watching a game, but you know, I feel like I'm forgotten. You know, that's assertive. You're not hurting my feelings. You're not saying you guys are horrible. You guys are rotten. You're just saying, you know, I feel some type of way. You're assertive. You're saying what you mean. You mean what you're saying. Now, if you know, then a partner was like this aggressive style, kind of like, everybody get down here. You ain't gonna be leaving me on the couch all night. That'll be another situation. Now you like being disrespectful. You're making everybody around you feel really bad. And that's not okay, all right? Every time you open your mouth, you're causing dissension and division in the house and you're destroying the atmosphere and the vibe. That's not cool. But then you got passive. I think passive is actually the worst because I'll be honest with you, I'd rather have somebody saying, what y'all doing? Because I'll go toe to toe. But don't be passive because I think passive can be sometimes the worst because you're not saying much of anything. You're not really hitting a point. You're really kind of dancing around the issue. And that's a lot of times why, you know, Kevin and I are both assertive. We say what we mean what we say, but we do it in different ways. So he might be ready to go because he has like a fat calendar in his head. And he just is like, well, you know what? On July 10th at 2:00, and I'm like, what? You know, but I have to go and write things down. And then I say, you know, can I read you something? But we're both assertive. We come directly to each other. Now, underneath that, there's different types of communicating in that style. So that's really just an overview. So communication, if you could decide which, you know, type of communication style you have, you really can start from there.
And I think it takes time, right? You may not fully understand what your communication style is in the beginning, but I think this is one of those areas where it requires time and patience on your part and your partner's part, right? Because one, you're going to be discovering yourself with your spouse as long as you're together, right? And then it takes time because maybe the way I communicated when we first got married when I was 24 is different than the way I communicate now at 40, right? There should be some growth, right? I shouldn't be communicating the same way at 40 as I did when I was 24. So I think it takes time and it takes patience to kind of understand, you know, where you are in life, you know, how you communicate and then how the other person communicates.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. So I think it's key just for people to kind of even just get that overview: assertive, aggressive, and passive. And knowing that passive is like, that is the worst place you could be in because stuff starts getting piled up and built up and you don't talk about it. And then it becomes like, you know, unmanageable at that point.
Right. Another person doesn't even know, right? Because you're passive. So now you got an attitude, walking around the house with an attitude, but you haven't said anything.
Yeah.
Right. And now days go by. So now I don't know, are you mad about what just happened? Are you mad about what happened Monday? You know what I mean? Like it's very passive and that can be frustrating on both parts because now the passive one, as days go on, they start feeling frustrated because I can't believe you're not picking up on my cues. The other person is like, I can't believe that you're upset and you've been upset for 4 days. You never said anything.
No, a passive communicator will walk around the house with an attitude for 2 to 3 days. I used to be a passive communicator. I would say, you know what, for the next 2 to 3 days, I'm gonna act like Kev. The bad thing about that is he didn't even know I was acting like him. And he's like asking me if I want breakfast. And I'm like, oh, you know.
Man, you sure have changed for the better.
You know, but, you know, I mean, we're not saying, that's a subjective opinion too. We think passive is the worst because it could pile up and it could turn into aggressive. But, you know, some people might think aggressive too because aggressive can do really bad damage. But passive is just so dangerous.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Is it possible to be assertive passive, like to teeter on both
Absolutely.
on both ways?
All kinds of combinations.
Yeah. And then would you say with a passive person that when you aren't talking about things, it begins to build up like a resentment or like a it starts to take you to a place that is maybe harder to come back from because you haven't really talked about, and it may be like years of stuff or months of stuff. What advice would you give for someone who is maybe by nature passive, but wants to like kind of turn it around?
Well, I think you're right. It's definitely possible to have any combination, right? I think everybody has a base, but I think depending on the situation, the environment, right, you can kind of teeter on one of those other categories, for sure. I think that if you're, let's say in your example, you're passive by nature, I think it's important for you guys to communicate that, right? You need to talk about who you are, what your communication style is. That way, when things start to seem a little off, we can start to, attack the situation. So it's important, and that's why you have to pay attention to your partner, right? You have to be intentional about your relationship. So you can't just walk around like la 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 la, and just take everybody. You're taking your partner for granted, and she's in her funk. I'll just let her get over it. No, we have to be intentional and deliberate in our approach to each other, right? Covering each other, being able to be vulnerable with each other, and I think that's key. I think many times, especially, I'll speak for men, it's hard for us to really let our guard down and just be vulnerable and express how we really feel. I think for a couple of reasons. One, as a man, you kind of want to feel like you got it all together. I don't really have to say much, right? And then two, you don't want to seem like the punk in a relationship. Like, why do I got to come crying to you about my feelings? But no, if this is your partner, you should be able to break down that wall and be vulnerable and really express yourself, believing and knowing that she's not going to use that against you. And I think that's where some couples disconnect, right? Is that they feel if I open up this area, she can use that or he can use that against me in some way. And so they keep that guard up. But if you really trust your partner, right, you should be able to express yourself and be vulnerable, knowing that they're going to take that and say, okay, you know what? I see you. I understand. What do we need to do to fix this?
And I want to piggyback. So something I used to be able to hold a grudge and go 2 or 3 days with barely speaking and just doing the minimum. And I hated feeling like that. Like, that's a really bad place to be. And I just wanted to, like, I would see something funny and I can't share it with Kev because I'm and he's my best friend. So I'm like, oh babe, look at this, ha ha ha, and I can't do that. And being in that space is just real icky. And so one thing that I said, we got to start doing, I said, we got to start talking about where we are, even if we're still have our attitude. So one thing I personally started doing, because I noticed that I was assertive passive, Tisha, I can be very vocal, I'm articulate, I can say what I mean and mean what I say, but at the same time, I can be so in my feelings and so emotional that I would go 2 or 3 days, I would speak to him, but it would be, I just go about my business acting like I'm not living with nobody, and that was just really horrible. So I started saying, listen, I cut it from the door, because I don't like feeling like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let you know I'm feeling some type of way. I feel overwhelmed by, what we're going through. And I even tell him, I'm trying to get myself out of this funk I'm in. But I just wanna let you know, I'm not ignoring you. I feel really upset.
Yeah, and what we started doing too is we cut into each other's time. So if I see her feeling like that, or she sees me feeling some type of way, we go right to it. All right, what's up?
that's not new though. That we really took time to put our pride down and to really be like, listen, I'm not feeling you right now, you know. And that takes a lot to just come up out like the cutting. Like we call each other out. We're like, no, listen, you got an attitude about something. Like Kevin will say real quick, you got an attitude about something. What's happening? I washed those clothes 3 times. I need somebody to help me, you know. And I walk around the house stomping. Ain't nobody helping me. But Kevin will be like, say no more, you know. And so like we just started cutting into each other's time. Like I think that's a real good way to put it, and we just started becoming vulnerable.
Yeah, I think that's so important because it sounds to me like you guys are saying that you both have a responsibility to each other. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, because you was like, you know, sometimes we can walk around being the other person who doesn't have the issue, like, like, they're like, everything is fine. And you're not picking up, you know, on certain things. And I think sometimes us in that place can kind of put all the responsibility on the other person. You're the one with the issue. You're the one with the problem. I'll wait till you come to me. You know what I mean? I'll wait till you say something. And you know, that doesn't help either. I think both parties have a responsibility to each other. And when you do communicate, let's say if you are, you know, passive or assertive passive, or you just don't know, but you feel like you're explaining yourself right. You feel like you're being communicative, but it's not being received. It's not being understood. It's not being heard. How do both parties like fix that? Like, how does the person explaining really,
like, how do I hear what you're saying? Like, I think sometimes when we we have check-ins and we communicate, we talk, but sometimes I think I will get the sense that you haven't really heard me. Like, you haven't really heard my heart, and we all have different ways of communicating things. But it still seems like sometimes the meat of it is like missing. Like, you didn't get the meat. You just literally took the words, maybe. So I guess, like, do you know what I'm talking about? And
yeah, what if you don't know how?
Words coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you guys suggest for that?
So one thing that we do is that we may visit the same topic several times, or we might, you know, because sometimes you're trying to communicate something and you may not have all of the language to really express what you're feeling in that moment, and that's okay. I think that, you know, putting it on the table, you know, one thing, because I know Kevin he's not big to like drop his guard and be like, that's just not Kevin. So I know for Kev, I might have to go back 2-3 times sometimes. It might be like, you know, I know this X, Y, and Z. We could talk about it later, or if you want to talk now, I'm in the room. And he might not talk right there, but we just make sure we try to talk about the conversation 2 or 3 times. And then he might say what he needs to say, and then he may have more. He might, you know, follow it up on that conversation. But going back to what you said about the check-ins, you know, not assuming that the person has all the language to express what they're feeling in that moment. And I just want to say something else. My cousin always says this, and I think it's just so cool the way he puts it. He says, someone has to be the fire and somebody has to be the water. And that, I don't know why that stuck with me, but if I know Kevin's upset about something, I'm like, all right, you know, I need to humble myself and be water right now. As long as, you know, as hard as it is to try to be water right now, I'm like, how can I douse this and put out the flames?
Yeah.
And always joining with him and just saying, you know, I hear you. What can I do to you know, what can I do? What do you need me to do to like make this a little easier to handle? And that always kind of like melts, you know, the hard exterior shell of Kev, you know. So always just kind of not just saying we're going to knock this out the park and handle it. I'm very solution focused. So when I'm going to have a conversation, I want to handle all of it right then and there. I don't want to ever revisit it. I just want to take care of it. But maturity has taught me that that's not always the way it's going to be. And sometimes solution focus means being dedicated to a solution, but over a period of time, being patient, keep going back to the situation, you know.
Yeah, I think that speaks to, you know, don't grow weary in well-doing, right? I think that many times couples get into this individualistic mode where it's me versus you. And as long as we constantly keep the connection, the focus, I think it gets easier to do that. It gets easier to revisit maybe the same topic over time. Yeah. But when it's me versus you, it's, why do I have to keep saying this? Why do I have, you know what I mean? And so I think that what we've learned is that it's really us versus the world. So it would be beneficial for us to kind of work this out, even if it does mean over time, but it's beneficial and more advantageous for us to work it out so that we can be that united front and that force that we know we're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the, being solution focused over a period of time, because sometimes we get discouraged like so quickly. Yeah. And it's like, I ask you, what's wrong? And if I say, oh, nothing, it's like, all right, I'm done. I did my job. I don't have to do nothing else. We're good for the rest of the day, not knowing that, it's like when you're building a sculpture and you got to chisel at it, you got to break apart different pieces. And the first, knock on the stone is not the solution, you got to work at that thing. So, yeah, I love
that. We have something that we started implementing with our children. And we do it with each other, and it's 212 degrees, right? We operate at 212 degrees. And what that means is at 212 degrees is the boiling point, right? So 211 degrees is hot, but it's not boiling, right? So certain things don't happen until you get that extra degree. Sometimes it just takes that extra. That if you say, hey, what's going on? Nothing. Okay, you're at 211 degrees. You asked one time, but you didn't, you need to go that extra 1 degree sometimes, because it's not until things get to a boiling point, and I mean this in a positive way, right? It's not until you get to a boiling point that you can now start to create things. Some things aren't created when things are just hot or warm. Some things have to go that extra degree so that it can begin to cook and begin to get to that next level. So I think that if you're just doing the minimum, like I watched the Couples Connect show. They said, "What's wrong? What's wrong? No, you good? Okay. No, you got to dig deeper. I mean, this is your partner, right? And so you gotta sometimes go that extra degree."
Yeah, I saw we saw a video recently about a couple was like talking about just their dedication to each other, and the guy was like, I'm earning my master's in my wife. Like, I study her, I look at what she does, and I find out about her every day, and that's so true, because like we have to take that extra time. Sometimes we can say, well, I say good morning. I say, such and such before I leave, and, hold your hand once a week, or, you know what I mean? Or something like that, and feel like we've done it, or we've accomplished the goal. But to that person, that might not be what they need. That might not be what they're looking for. And we got to go the extra mile to learn what they actually need,
And I like the fire and water concept. Yeah. Right. Like, so somebody might be hot and somebody has to be that water. Somebody has to be that cool. I guess the question I would have is, so what if you are communicating and you're going that extra mile, you're going that 212 degrees. And let's say whatever is produced out of that conversation or maybe solution is not really agreed upon. Like, it's not a mutual agreed upon solution. What communication techniques do you suggest at that point?
Well, there's certain things that we just don't agree on, and we're two separate individuals coming together as one.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Right? We're living in this day where you feel like you have, everybody has to agree.
We're not compatible because we don't agree.
No.
We're very compatible. We just don't agree on everything because we have two separate minds. What I will say to that is, where can we meet in the middle? I love you so much. I don't want you to, that's selfish. I don't want to just be happy and great, let's go without my idea or my decision. Well, where can we meet in the middle? That we are always about where can we meet in the middle that would make us both happy. And so if you both really come together, it's really when couples come together and try to meet the middle ground, where can we both be happy? Like for example, coming to North Carolina. At first I was like, and Kevin was like, I think I want to go. Kevin never wanted to live in New Jersey, right? But he didn't just be like, pack your stuff, we're out. I had done a PowerPoint presentation. I said, well, what the hell about Florida? And so he was like, I don't want to go to Florida right now. And that was before the North Carolina thought. And I was just like, it wasn't a hard no. He was like, let me just think about it because we got a lot of stuff moving around. And then when he presented to North Carolina, I was like, well, that's in the middle. And so we came to a compromise. It wasn't kind of like, we're going to North Carolina. I don't care what you think about Florida. It was, where can we meet in the middle for that,
And I think it really comes down to a certain level of maturity.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. If both parties just can't seem to come to terms on a certain topic or a certain situation, it just takes maturity to say, okay, you know what, we're going to table this, or like Jessica said, we're going to try to meet, what's the middle ground here? Because obviously this is my stance and this is your stance. What's the middle ground? Where can we both say, okay, I can deal with that. I can tolerate that. And it just takes a certain level of maturity, I think. And I think that also comes, I think the common theme is time, right? We're so quick to get out of situations. Like we choose comfort over commitment. And we're like, you know what? This is making me uncomfortable. I'm not happy. I'm out. No, the mature person says, all right, we communicated. I'm still not happy. We're gonna revisit this. We're gonna we're gonna figure this thing out. So sometimes it just comes down to just being mature enough to handle what a real relationship, right? I don't know any relationship. If it's spouse, mother, child, business partner, I don't know any relationship that's going to be seamless all the time, right? But you don't see people just breaking off and just splitting, like that. There has to be some maturity and some commitment. We got to be able to handle and endure the commitment that we put out there to stick it out no matter what.
Yeah, it's that longevity, piece, and long suffering and patience, realizing it's a process. Because especially like in America, like we've been conditioned with this whole microwavable society and lifestyle. We want everything resolved right then and there. And like you said, we give up so easily. We give up so easily.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just have that button that goes.
Right. Y'all have dropped some gems I could see on t-shirts. I'm just gonna recap them for you a little bit so you can us versus the world, fire and water, commitment over comfort. Yeah, so I'm just reminding y'all so when I get ready to do that.
So I could get the t-shirts made.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So before we go, I did want to ask if you could share maybe some techniques or techniques that you use in order to effectively communicate with each other. For couples starting out, couples who are trying to get this thing together, and even those of us who are doing it now, but maybe just want to do it better, more effectively.
So I think Kevin hit one right on the head. The first thing is using I feel statements and not holding on to it for too long so it can fester into a really ugly, nasty wound. And saying, I feel, say what you mean. Say your emotion. Even if you have to go and say, let me find an emotion that really reflects what I'm feeling, and then say how you feel about something that may have happened. Because when you attack, again, going back to attacking the behavior, not the person. You dead wrong. No.
Like, give an example. So when we say use I feel, so all right, so we'll give a real life example. Okay. So I drink a lot of water at night. And then when I finish my bottles, I just leave them on the side of the bed.
Me too.
So, first of all, we both drink a lot of water. I don't leave my bottles on the side of the bed. She does.
So I leave the water bottles on my bed. So when you go upstairs in my room, it looked like Deer Park Station. Right?
Yeah. So like you got a 7-Eleven on your side of the
bed. Right. So, and I state the situation will be, I feel like I'm always cleaning up on your side when, those are your bottles of water. And it's a little overwhelming because I got a lot of stuff to do versus why you always keeping your side of the bed so dirty? Mm-hmm. Those two statements, really, she's saying the same thing. Right. But one of them makes me go on the defense. One of them makes me say, you know what? I don't want my spouse or my partner feeling overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So you can get your point across by attacking the behavior in the situation without attacking the individual. And you do that with I feel statements. Because again, that technique is really showing the other person, you know what? This is making me feel some type of way. And if I really care for her or she really cares for me, she doesn't want, or I don't want the other person to feel that way. So I'm going to now do my part, pick up my bottles, take them out to the recycling, but I think that's just it's a simple thing. But listen, if she keeps coming at me nagging like, yo, clean up your side, that doesn't make me want to do it, even though I should. Right. It's not gonna make me want to.
Now you done said something. Now I'm not gonna do it. I was just about to.
All you gotta do, okay, is say, I feel, and then you continue with that.
Well, we should talk about tone too, right?
Well, yeah, because
be like, I feel
yeah,
not good right now.
Right.
I'm not inspired to move my stuff.
Yes.
I feel like you don't know how to keep your side of the bed clean. And it make me feel like I'm the only one in this house.
Feel like you gotta do better.
Yeah, exactly.
That was good. That was.
Another technique I would say is kind of read the room, test the waters.
Yeah.
If Kevin has a really rough day, I can see it in his face, and if he's sitting at his desk and he's like this, and he got his calculator out and he's like, I'm not gonna be like, babe, can we talk about last week? I already know it's gonna be like right now. Like, and he's not in a place to receive. Your partner. Test, read the room. So I'll be like, I'll know when he is in a relaxed place. I'm not gonna go to Kevin. I'm not gonna go to him when he's already frustrated and upset. That's just gonna cause a disaster. I'm gonna wait until we're calm and we're in a good place. And a lot of couples make that mistake. They talk when they're angry. If you're angry, I say, when you feel the heat, retreat. That's another technique. When you feel the heat and you know what you feel, everybody has physiological responses to anger and aggravation. If your body feel warm, if your skin is turning colors, you need to not say anything, and you need to wait until you calm down. And same for your partner. If you see your partner had a rough day, or if they struggle with something in that moment, that's not the time for you to talk to them about, taking the garbage out, or whatever it is. So just try to read the room. And when you feel the heat, back up. Don't be like adding, salt to the wound. And a lot of times I think we re-injure each other in the moment because we're talking prematurely, and we just really need to fall back and be like, you know what, I'm gonna say this, but this is not the time.
Yeah, that's really important. Yep.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say is, and it's the last thing I'll say, it's something we always tell our couples. So the relationship house has light bulbs in every room. You're not going to throw the house away because you have a light bulb that went out. Every room represents something different in your relationship. So you got to check in. If that light bulb is out, okay, focus on that room. Don't be like, our whole marriage is a disaster. Don't create absolute statements. Our whole marriage is not a disaster. We have a problem area we need to fix. We need to go replace the light bulb.
Right. And
so with saying that, understand that every problem that you face is not going to be a solution to it. It's going to, some problems in your marriage are going to be managed. You might, And then, research suggests that you're going to possibly fight about the same stuff for the rest of your marriage, okay? So it just transforms into different things. So don't get upset and overwhelmed if you feel like you're having the same conversation over and over again. Be patient and understand it might just be a managed area and may not be a solution area. Yeah. You might have a solution, but don't give up hope or get frustrated because you're like, man, we've been working on the same problem for like 5 years. It's just manage it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And I would even say, just real quickly that divorce or getting separated, that doesn't resolve your issue with people. Right. Your struggles with people, because if you're going to be in contact with anybody, there's always going to be some type of conflict. Right. So getting divorced or getting separated does not resolve that. You just have to learn how to manage it, like you said, or work around it, or come to an agreement.
Change the light bulb. I like that.
Change the light bulb.
That analogy. I think that is so true. I think you can make things an absolute because you're feeling the emotions of that one thing
in that time. Yeah.
Right, but then there's like all these other rooms, all these other things and great things. Yeah. But it's crazy how that one light bulb.
And it's like, I can't see. Well, then go into one of the other rooms.
Because stuff is happening in these other rooms, okay? But we thank you guys for coming on and sharing with us. This has been a gem, and we will definitely be looking for some more from y'all.
Yeah, part two, guys.
So we enjoy talking with you guys. It's so organic and natural. So anytime, man, we love this. And what you're doing.
Yes, keep going.
The Couples Connect is awesome, man. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, can you let everyone know how they can reach you? And what you do with other services you may offer?
So right now, the main services that we've been offering have been, coaching, couples coaching. So we do that every week. And we wrote a book, Christpreneur. We do business coaching, and that's really just we really help a lot of, beginning businesses. We just kind of give everything that we've struggled with or that we've really done well, and we just share all of it. And it's all been profitable. So you can visit the website for all of our services. We have also Kevin's a minister, a licensed minister, so he brings that spiritual component strong. We have Be Well Today, Be-Well Today, and it's really just be financially well, be emotionally well, be spiritually well. We just want us to be well in any shape or form. So you can reach us at Be Well Today. You can drop a line in the comment section, subscribe, or you can hit us up on Instagram. Just DM us, Kevin Gems.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Thank you guys so much for taking out your time and giving us all of these gems. People should be paying for this type of stuff. You guys are here. You know
Glad
what I mean?
we know you.
Yep. Glad to know people. Glad to know people, but you guys are so humble and just I don't know. It's like crazy how you guys
taught us stuff. I got notes, okay?
Yeah, we got notes. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate y'all, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.